Welcome back to the Spacebook, talking all out there entertainment and live streaming it to you across YouTube, X, Facebook, and on Rumble too. All will be revealed in due course here on our 100% real-time live stream. It's Saturday, the 21st of September. No, 2024. A big birthday for a very big Caped Crusader. This is where we talk about all of that and all of this, movies, TV, comics, and all kinds of retro goodies, all the disclosed, debated, and debagged here with us. Got a guest panel to bring on as ever, fizzing with excitement as we hit hyperspace. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Welcome back to the show. No Caped Crusaders around. There's a vape shop in Dudley called the Vaped Crusader. That's the nearest that we've got. Yeah, so welcome back. So this is our Saturday live stream, the Spacebook Live, where we cover all things geeky outside of the TARDIS. So that now and again we do talk about Doctor Who. It's bound to slip out here or there because most of us are Doctor Who fans, but it's a matter of sort of tuning in to what else is out there on the television there, which are the signals we can pick up. And when I say we, yes, I mean I've got a panel as well. You don't have to just listen to me rambling on about all this stuff. Okay, first of all, as always, I think he's fed and probably watered as well. It's the one and only Ian David Diaz, Mega Geek.
Hello. We're here. Today is the pick up a penguin today, isn't it? So there you go.
Back with a vengeance. Did they come in packs of 5 or 6? Was there one for every weekday to put in your lunchbox or something?
Yeah, it used to come in packs of 5. I remember when I was a kid, I used to like the colour. You know, I thought, I can have the blue one, Mum. It was like blue, red, green. Do you remember? And it had the penguin on the cover. Yeah, so yeah, cool.
I've been saving something for later, but I think I might do it earlier. Now you've mentioned it.
Right.
John Yalden, do you still like a penguin now and again?
Who doesn't like a penguin? If you're British, you officially have to like a penguin. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when they started doing the different flavours as well? I had like an orange mint taste inside.
Orange?
Yeah.
Well, you say you have to, but there was penguin, there was a taxi, there was a club, and there was a breakaway as well.
Yeah.
Well, what's the problem? You just eat all of them.
And do you remember the trio with the fudge? So there was actually a flooded market at one. I don't know whether any of them still exist. I think
I know what Ian's on about because I actually used to ask for a specific colour of the wrapper of a penguin, but even though my mum would say they're all the same inside, that just didn't wash with me.
No,
so I was that troublesome child, so I had to have the red one.
They had collectible wrappers on some of them as well, sort of different cartoon characters, or they were wearing different football strips. The penguins were like in different scarves with bobble hats and things.
Yeah.
As kids, though, that was really important. You know, obviously parents never knew that. It's like it's the same inside. It's like, no, I want a blue one. It's really important that I get a blue one. You know? So
exactly. They just didn't get it. They just don't understand how it makes us tick.
Exactly. Didn't get it. Talking about vintage TV past here. We all get it, but I'm not sure that the remaining 2 pundits will for various different reasons. First of all, we've got Bowles Trek back. Obviously, from where you are, Chris, I don't think they ever had penguin biscuits, did they?
What's a penguin biscuit?
I knew he was going to say that.
No, we don't have your fancy things here. We don't have your pasties or this disgusting thing called mushy peas.
It's not disgusting.
Peas. Now you're talking. Mushy peas, the dogs.
Lovely. Yeah,
they're great.
I think if the penguin biscuits was in every country, a lot of the major problems in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, we had Teddy Grahams. Oh, and Dan, at some point, I've got a possibly good or possibly redundant news about physical media.
We'll look forward to that.
I'll make it real quick. So I'm sure you guys know what Best Buy is, even though it's not okay.
Yeah, so, big store.
So it was like the apocalyptic news for physical media a year ago when they announced that they were pulling all their DVDs and Blu-rays out of their stores in the US and Canada. Well, this week, I haven't actually been into Best Buy in about a year. And I was in it wasn't my local Best Buy. I was in a city about an hour away, and it was one of the really small Best Buys. So I went in there. I just wanted to look at TVs just because I was bored. And I'm like, wait, look over. I'm like, there's a rack there of Blu-rays. Like, that's not supposed to be here. I'm like, oh, it's probably just stuff that they've had there for months. No, there were new releases on there. There was the Planet of the Apes movie, that terrible Star Trek, the STD show. They had the newest season of that. But so I have to dig into this further, but I don't know if they just never pulled them out or if they just secretly snuck them back into Best Buy Canada. But for all the doomsayers, I was in a Best Buy this week, and they had new releases from this month on a rack at the front of the store. So I'm going to dig into this further, and I'll report back.
Reports of the death of physical media at Best Buy could be a bit previous.
I'm going to go to my local Best Buy, which is one of the ginormous Best Buys, and see if there's any there, and I will report back next week. So
excellent.
Maybe we might, Best Buy may, at least in Canada, potentially, knock on wood, may have just secretly reversed course and not announced anything of it, but they had brand new releases in store. So I was very excited about this. So I didn't mean to hijack it. I had to.
I have heard of this happening elsewhere, and British retailers that used to stock lines of physical media that had stopped, now bringing it back as well. So I think for a number of reasons, DVD and Blu-ray could be on its way back to a few stores here too. Wouldn't at all surprise me.
I will find out this week, Dan, because this was a little Best Buy, like my Best Buy, which once upon a time I actually worked at this store many, many years ago.
I remember
our local one is massive. So it's one of their biggest concept stores. So I'm going to go trot along there sometime this week before we stream, and I'm going to see if they're actually in my local store. And then we'll find out. And now I'm going to shut up. I just had to share that because it's all doom and gloom for physical media. So
all gold. Yeah, we're overdue a big catch-up on physical media, aren't we? I'm happy to. Actually, I don't know whether he's into physical media now. I know he's into reality, and generally speaking, he likes it based. I'm talking about our special guest on this edition of the show. He has been on before, and believe it or not, he's back. There is one born every minute after all, and this one's name is Ryan Roger Athay. Now, you're from Reality Based, the YouTube channel, aren't you? Let's be specific.
No, I am the host and founder of Reality Based, which is something I just came up with. Oh, cool. It's my creator name.
That's what he calls himself.
I did it ass backwards. I used my actual name instead of a creator name, and I came up with a creator name. I mean, I love physical media. My desk is physical media because, well, I can't afford a table. So I literally have a DVD player here, videotapes, and then a small new age white desk just to raise it all up. And I got a video player.
That sounds very Wallace and Gromit.
Yes. I got the Twin Towers here. You can't really see them, but there they are. And I have my my golf club, just in case I ever go into the Last of Us universe. And please ignore the cobwebs and some books as well.
Excellent stuff. Now, as the resident sort of under 30-year-old here on the panel, Ryan, you must have been mystified by our talk there of club biscuits and penguins and breakaways and trios.
No, just the breakaways and trios. I know what penguins are. I know what clubs are. I have them a lot. I mean, look at me. They put jokes in the penguins now. Those packets they put.
Oh, really?
Yes. And some of my favorite mints, not mints. My favorite clubs are mint and caramel. Yes, green I'm known for bloopers too. So.
Yeah. Well, for the people out there, because we are live streaming this, of course, to multiple platforms, to Facebook, to X, Rumble, and of course YouTube as well. And we've got an international audience too, so some of them will know, some of them won't. So here are our findings here for anyone a bit mystified about as to what on earth we were talking about when it comes to penguins.
But pick up a penguin, a lovely big penguin. When you pick up a penguin, there's so much more to enjoy. It's bigger, they're chocolatey, delicious, filling too. When you feel a little bit peckish, what's bigger and best for you? A penguin. So pick up a penguin. When you feel a little bit peckish, pick up a penguin.
That's
Give me that
cleared
blue
that
one.
up.
The blue one. I want the blue one.
yeah.
So are we all clear now? I knew someone would mention penguins here after all of that. Yeah, we've got a lot to get to grips with in the TV present and a little bit of the TV past as well on this edition of the show. We've got some comments too already coming in from people, so let's see what they've got to say. Various people watching along across all of those platforms. Happy to have you with us, including Michael Q, who says, hello, Dan, King of the Geeks, and I say penguin is king. There you go. How about that? We've got a hail chat from Garbage as well, John.
Yeah, brilliant. I was going to say that image quickly, Dan. It encapsulates the sheer terror that I also experienced as well. A close up with Darth Vader. He's probably wetting himself, that kid. I can guarantee it.
Somehow,
Pure fear, that is. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yes. In fact, most of the comments come from you, John, and you, Ryan. We've got some from Lord Thoth as well. Hi, everyone from Lord Thoth. Good to have you with us again, Lord Thoth, for yet more absolute nonsense. And Michael, they're all talking about chocolate biscuits in the live chat. I think we'll leave them to it to have a bit of a snack. Yeah, I love pictures like this from way back in the day. I don't think he's after his lunch money, Ian, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's got form, hasn't he, I suppose, Vader?
Yeah, the thing is, though, I always wonder about people who dress up like Darth Vader or anything like that. They must be boiling in that thing. I mean, look how many layers that Darth Vader's got on. Must be sweating like a pig in there. Oh, gosh. Well, I guess they get
big suit.
well. Yeah, it's all kind of like, not leather, but I'm assuming it's like PVC. But that's still hot, isn't it? The gloves and everything. It's craziness. Anyway.
Yeah.
That kid looks terrifying.
Well, you think about what some people go into conventions as now cosplay. Yeah. Some of the suits are absolutely massive, and in fact, that's exactly what's happened this week. The other member of the squad, the one who's never actually on screen, but he is with us, our astronaut, and you can tell he's made the big time because he's been to his first convention. He was there as a guest, and here he is having his picture taken with a fan too. And I did get this message back from him. It said. He said, like that, we have a problem over a request clarification over. She's asking, what are my pronouns? I repeat, what? Yeah, we get the picture. So we'll try and get an answer for him before, because he's there for the weekend, and it could all go pear-shaped for the lad. We don't want to get cancelled already, Ryan, you see.
I know. I can just. What are your pronouns? Haitian.
Yeah.
Wait and see what we get back from the live chat there across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and on X. Let us know what you think. Oh, there's some very creative ones arriving already. And talking about being creative, Ian, I saw this story break this week, and I thought instantly of you, not least of all because we've spoken about this film. Back in 2002, Danny Boyle released the movie 28 Days Later. Do you remember that?
Yeah, remember it.
Yep.
I went to see in the cinema.
Post-apocalyptic horror. Danny Boyle had been making movies for, when was Shallow Grave? That had been 94. So he'd been around for 6 or 7 years at that point. He co-wrote this screenplay with Alex Garland, who's a novelist and now screenwriter. Very, very popular film. And recently, the words got out that they're making another sequel, because there was an original sequel, wasn't there, in 2007? That was called 28
Weeks
Later. Yeah, so that's how that spun out. And we're now awaiting 28 years later. So it's a revival of the whole franchise, really. But why I thought of you, Ian, is because the news has just broken that this has become the biggest movie to date that will be filmed entirely on smartphone. It says here there's a big feature in Wired magazine, and they say that Danny Boyle has shot this $75 million budget film over the summer simply using a bunch of iPhone 15s.
Yeah. Well, basically, iPhone 15s, especially if they got the right tools with it, it will look good, because the iPhones now, they got 4K on them, and all you need really is some storage to capture the footage, and there are extensions that you can put on the lens to imitate certain lens stuff like so. I mean, this might be the future of low budget filmmaking, full stop, if the iPhones get better and better. So I don't blame him, but the thing I didn't like about the first one was it looked like it was shot on VHS. I remember going to cinema, sitting there thinking, what the hell did I? It was even worse with, remember Collateral? When I went to see Collateral, what the did they shoot this on? Do you know what I mean? It's like ridiculous. So
the Michael Mann movie.
Yeah, the Michael Mann movie. They shot it on video, didn't they? It looks awful.
I think they purposely wanted to make that one look as trashy as possible, from what I remember. But yeah, it's painful to look, and it is. One of the Blu-ray upgrade was kind of pointless.
Yeah, and also they did the same with Miami Vice. Like that looked awful as well. They shot all out on stupid video as well. But I remember seeing this first one, thinking, "What the hell is this?" You know what I mean? Sitting in the cinema, I've come to see a film, and I'm watching a VHS. Did they just put a VHS in or something?
After doing a spot of research about this, apparently why he was so keen to do this is because it fits in with the kind of tradition that the series was established in. So back in 2002, the original film 28 Days Later was shot. It says here shot partly with a Canon XL1, which was a pretty much just a higher end camcorder, which recorded onto mini
tapes.
DV.
Yeah, tapes. Yeah, that.
It was about $2,000 here in North America. So
yeah, it was.
The high end of consumer grade at the time.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It looked awful, in my opinion. I think this is the own. Was this the start of zombies running with zombie films? I think it's the first time we saw zombies running, right? Because
I think you're right.
Yeah.
When I watched the 2000 AD documentary, they were on there and they were talking about it, and they said they were inspired by kind of 2000 AD, and they said, right, how can we make this scary? We haven't got the budget as such, so let's make them run and make it terrifying.
I just can't wait for the next film 280 years later. What are they going to put
We'll all be dead.
Yeah.
Well, it's, has anybody ever seen the film Unsane from 2018 with Claire Foy? That was shot with an iPhone 7 Pro.
Yeah.
And it actually, to be honest, like it looks gritty, but it actually looks decent. I didn't know it was filmed with an iPhone until after, although that's probably the main reason why. But yeah, no, it looks.
Soderbergh has shot. I think is a couple of films on an iPhone as well. But again, right, they'd be stupid not to use the stuff that comes with it. You know, like the lens adaptment and. And obviously,
with Unsane, they did use prosumer adapters, but still watching it, I'm like, this was actually filmed with an iPhone. Now, I have never owned an iPhone. Every phone I've had has been Samsung. Yeah, I know.
I'm the same. I've never had an iPhone.
They did a test
on Samsung.
On YouTube. Somebody did a test with a Red camera and an iPhone, and they shot the same scene. And there was very little in it between the Red, which is like a big camera that professional films use, and an iPhone, the latest iPhone. There's not much in it, especially if it's lit the same way. There are little things here and there, but as a consumer, you probably won't notice any of that stuff.
How can you keep upgrading the iPhone at this point? I'm like, every year it's iPhone 17 or God knows where they are now. How can you keep upgrading it every year when
battery will be an optional extra? That's how Apple upgrade their systems, by turning core systems into DLC attachments.
Yeah.
Screen option. Being able to use it as a phone option. Again, why I've never owned an iPhone.
I think Nokia is living proof that you can make a good product and your company can still sink.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely.
I haven't seen 28 Days Later for a number of years now. I'm going to go back and rewatch it because I did enjoy it. And I liked that sort of graininess at the time. Whether I feel the same way now, like 22, nearly 23 years on, I don't know. I do remember that the sequel looked like a proper glossy movie.
Yeah,
It was
a bit. Yeah, I think I
directed
don't
by
know what
Juan
necessarily,
Carlos Fresnaldo. I think that's how you pronounce it. So yeah, Danny Boyle was busy making Sunshine, I think, at the time, or Slumdog Millionaire, one of the other movies. And so I think he still co-wrote this and passed it over to another director. We've got a first photo here. We've got the first image, official image from 28 years later. So that's this. Bit Clockwork Orange, Ian.
Oh God, yeah. But that just goes to show that iPhones and the latest digital cameras can cope with low lighting, and that's the thing. Also, another thing that obviously digital can do is that you can run as long as the card has, like, so if the card has X amount, you could be running for 20 hours without, because in film you have to change the mag, right? So okay. Yeah, so that's another advantage that you've got there. So yeah, I'm in no doubt that it will look all right at the end of the day, because iPhones are pretty good at shooting stuff. Yeah.
And Dan, if anybody in Region 1 happens to have the Blu-ray of 28 Days Later, it is highly sought after because it has been out of print for years, and I've seen it go for absolutely insane prices. I got mine for like $8 16 years ago, but yeah, so a little known fact. You can get it you guys can get it for cheap, but no, here it was out of print almost as quickly as it's been in print, and apparently there's some kind of rights issue.
It's the strangest titles that happens with. This third film is going to star Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Ralph Fiennes, along with a rumoured cameo from Cillian Murphy, the original star of that original film. So some big stars there, where we've got a former M from the James Bond movies and a possible future Bond there. It looks very, very likely that Aaron Taylor Johnson will be the next Bond. He's there. Jodie Comer, I know a lot of people like her. I find her inoffensive, but she's never somebody I get particularly excited about. But all of them are good actors.
Yeah, they're sellable, all three of them. When
I thought you said she was celibate. I thought, wow.
No. No. What it is that the reason why everybody knows this, I guess, so I'll just spell it out. Reason why you have stars in your film is not only to sell it to your own country and get people to come and see the film because of the stars. Doesn't work today, but anyway, let's bypass that. Is also to sell to other countries as well. Now with Jodie, she had a big hit with that TV show, and that went across the world. So, people might watch it because of her. Don't know about Aaron. And we all know that Ralph is a big star around the world. So, yeah, that's why they've got him in there. Yeah.
Voldemort actually has a nose.
Yeah.
You had to have it put back on when those films wrapped up, folks. It was a very complex procedure.
He's a brilliant actor, though, isn't he? Right?
Yeah.
He's such a good actor. So, yeah.
It's 28 years later, wrapped filming in late August. And yet, apparently, it's all been filmed on iPhone 15 Pros and Pro Max. And it will be out. I think it's out next year. Sean Baker's Tangerine and Steven Soderbergh's Usain were previously shot with iPhones, just as you said, Chris. But I suppose the difference is they're both considered to be quite low budget art house movies. This series of films it's had modest beginnings, but it's kind of got it's a quasi blockbuster. I'd say that it's a high profile series, and a lot of people will be very excited about a third entry. The budget is tight again, John, and quite recently we've seen films on slimmer budgets do very, very well. How do you think this will go down now in 2024, 2025 when it comes out?
I think it's going to do very well. I think we're at a point now where Hollywood, in particular, they seriously need to readjust the budgets on their movies. So I think things like this, if they're lower budget considerably, it's going to do well. They're going to make their money back. But I just think this is the kind of thing that they want. So I would say it's going to do very well, and I think it will go down well with the audiences.
But £75 million, that's got to be going somewhere. I'm sure most of it goes
to the stars.
That's where
the stars, isn't it? Yeah, Ralph Fiennes, he must be a pretty penny, and Jodie's pretty big now. She's been in a few Hollywood movies, so the money will go to them. And also, everybody knows, and this is no joke either. When a producer produces a film, you can bet your bottom dollar he's getting a huge percentage of that budget, and then the rest can just sort it all out when he's taking his cut. So yeah, so there you go.
Chris, I haven't watched any of the final 3 or 4 seasons of The Walking Dead, never mind all the spin-offs. I avoid most zombie movies like The Plague simply because I got so bored with it. Do you think that even though these aren't technically zombie movies, they pretty much are, and that the ship has sort of sailed on this and it's too soon to come back with another movie like this?
Well, to be honest, I've never really followed The Walking Dead. I watched the first couple seasons and then kind of trailed off after that. I'm hopeful, but also pessimistic when it comes to horror, because horror was one of the last franchises or one of the last genres that went current year. I know 5 years ago I was saying, yeah, everything else has gone to hell, but horror is fine. Then we got Black Christmas and The Craft and what they did to the Insidious franchise. And so if they can do this not current year, like horror genre, okay, so you were the last to switch, so how about you be the first to go away and drop this stuff? I'm looking at you, Blumhouse. I will watch it, but I'll be pessimistic. But I'm at the point right now where no matter what I'm watching, unless it's something that I have to physically review, if there's any current yearisms, and I won't say the word because I know that gets YouTube hates that now, so I don't want to get poor Dan in trouble. But
Is it Wakanda?
Sure, yeah, we'll call it that. But no, it's what was I saying? I'm like just half here today. No, I'm at the point where unless it's something that I have to review, if I'm watching something, the second a current yearism comes in, I just shut it off. I'm not giving any more.
It's largely the same with me, Chris. I approach with great caution. Because I don't want to, it's simply because, and it's nothing necessarily against the people who've made them. If people want to have that stuff, I just don't want to have my evening ruined or my weekend ruined, because when I waste some of my time, John, watching any of this guff for a couple of hours, I get angry with myself before I get angry with anybody else now, because I think, well, if I haven't learned by now, then I never will. We're now 7-8 years into this nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is why the only thing that I would say about this current era is the fact that it's made me go back and appreciate stuff from the past that maybe I hadn't watched the first time. That I'm really enjoying. I mean, like I said to you in the week, you two introduced me, to Columbo, and I'm literally hammering through it. I'm in season 2 already.
Wow.
Best show ever.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And I'm literally, I think I'm going to have to quit work, to be honest with you, just to keep going with it.
And John, if you like Columbo, I'm going to make another recommendation that's going to eat up all your time. Check out the Rockford Files. That's my second.
Rockford Files is good.
I love the Rockford Files.
Yeah, okay. That's on the list then. I'll add that, definitely.
You like Columbo? Get that.
Yeah.
Very different shows, though, but both really good. Yeah.
I think the appeal and the pace is similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I love 70s crime drama. He's kind of the opposite of Columbo. He's an ex-con who charges $200 a day plus expenses in the 70s as a private investigator.
Very small.
They're not all murder investigations either,
No,
which is what I kind of like. And there's a lot more episodes. Columbo is mainly movies. This one, there's 6 seasons, and 5 of them are full-length 70 seasons.
The 4-box set. The DVDs of the Rockford Files is actually sat in my basket on Amazon waiting for me to pull the trigger. I added it about a week ago.
Is it the UK version, or is it the Mill Creek?
It's the UK version, so it's very, very bare bones. It's not available on Blu-ray here, to the best of my knowledge.
No.
So
they're decent transfers.
Yeah, they do look okay. Here we go down the rabbit hole again. More physical media talk coming up soon, no doubt. Let us know which are your favourites. We can recommend them to John on a future edition of the show. How about 28 years later? Are you going to go for that? Did you enjoy those films back in the noughties? And have you been waiting this entire time for a third entry? How do you pronounce Rafe or Ralph? Asks Boomer Doug. He says, I never really
Ralph.
I never really understood it. I guess it's posh. Rafe is very posh, isn't it, Ian?
It is very, very posh.
I just call
prefer
him
Ralph.
Voldemort.
Yeah. I can call him M if you want. So there you go.
Saves
But,
time,
I think-
doesn't it?
More people will probably remember the Voldemort. Yeah, they will. They will. And whilst you're at it, please remember to like this video if you haven't already. You're going to be having far too much fun later on, or you'll be drinking too heavily. Please like the video now. Subscribe to the channel. It does help a lot more than you think. And hit the cluster bell to get all our notifications. More live streams. We're back in our Saturday from 9 p.m. UK time slot here, talking about movies and TV shows on the weekly on the Spacebook Live, and there's the Spacebook listed as well. Our strand of vintage movies and TV reviews too. So we'll have lots of guests coming in, and who knows what we're going to talk about between now and Christmas. What presents we've got lined up. Okay, what's next? I think out there.
1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Right, let me handle this lister. This is Acting Senior Officer Arnold J. Rimmer of the Jupiter Mining Corporation transport vessel Blue Midget. Now listen to me, New Zealand. I'm only going to say this once, so leave those sheep alone for a minute and pay attention. Red Dwarf on TV4, just watch it.
Yeah, Red Dwarf, a staple of any right-thinking bloke of a certain age is VHS and then DVD collection. It's out on Blu-ray as well. I don't think you'll meet many people above a certain age, above, say, 30, 35, who haven't got a soft spot for Red Dwarf, for Lister, Rimmer, Crichton, Cat, and the various Hollies that they've had over the years there. This series boomed in the early 90s, massively popular when it was originally shown on BBC Two, synonymous with that decade, and then it went away for a really, really long time. Eventually it did come back, courtesy of the cable station Dave. Everybody looking, slightly more wrinkly, and maybe the laughs don't hit quite as hard as they used to. But it's still largely an unmissable show. That's when it's on. Because obviously Dave's a very small channel.
Yeah.
And Red Dwarf's a complicated and reasonably expensive series to make. I think that, let's put it this way, Ian. I think that the average season of Red Dwarf probably costs a lot more to make than the average season of any other sitcom on British TV.
It does. And what's funny is that they all look obviously a lot older, especially Lister. I mean, they're making a new one, right? So
they are making a new one. Yeah, this is what the great news is. So filming has been announced. It's going ahead, set for this October. New episodes that are going to air in the middle of next year. This is the long-running series, Red Dwarf. Ryan, I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but over the last 36 years, there's been, say, 13 runs, a couple of mini-series. So they changed the format of it up here and there just to guarantee they can make more for this huge fan base that lays waiting for it. Sometimes the gap is like 2 years, sometimes it's 5 or 6 years. By the time we get this, which is going to be next year, again, it'll have been another 5-year break since the last lot. Have you seen much Red Dwarf, Ryan?
I tried to get into it recently, but especially some of the earliest episodes, like, it has definitely aged as a franchise, and it's certainly changed a lot. And I usually like to start from the beginning and move on, hopefully, to the end. But this looks... I know, because I'm 25, folks. I know I don't look it. When I look at those older guys and compare them to their younger selves, I see a lot of development, a lot of, I dare say, maturity, but I don't expect that from a science fiction comedy.
No.
But they've really gotten into the roles, and I think them being older or looking older is much more appealing to me personally. And it just goes to show the franchise has been doing very well because it stood the test of time, and its fan base has only increased with time, especially on Dave. Because I remember when Top Gear repeats kept that damn thing on the air.
Red
It's
Dwarf
funny-
has now been on, Dave, for far longer than it was on BBC Two, Ian. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because obviously the when they were at the height of their powers on BBC Two, the episodes were so much better than anything that Dave made. And I tell you the
Yeah.
reason why. The reason why is because they hardly had any money, so it was all down to the writing. And that's why we got superb episodes when they were on BBC Two. Just have to mention Dwayne Dibley, and you can go through all of them. They're absolutely funny.
There was barely a dud
yeah.
in the first 6 or 7 seasons.
Season 1 wasn't very good in my opinion, but season 2 was getting to its own, and then I think the next 2 to 3 seasons were good. When they went back to Red Dwarf, that was terrible. They should never have done that. But the Dave ones, I laughed on some of the Dave ones as well. So it still works, but how long could they keep going? Crichton's got a belly now. He's a mechanoid.
When it's on form, it's really, really on form. They never meant to have it off screen for this long, for like 5 years, but it became bogged down with a legal battle between the two creators of the show, Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. They fell out over the rights because Rob had gone off to do other things, and Doug had stayed around to develop it on Dave. And so this all went to court, it's sad to say, but about 18 months ago, an announcement was put out that an agreement had been made. So Rob Grant and Doug Naylor are delighted to announce that the ongoing dispute over the Red Dwarf rights has been resolved. Moving onwards and upwards, Rob and Doug hope to launch separate iterations of Red Dwarf across various media, working again with the cast and other valued partners, and wish each other the very best. Smoke me a kipper. Red Dwarf will be back for breakfast. That was 18 months ago. And obviously a lot of fans were... This wasn't the news that they wanted, really. Two sort of competing versions of Red Dwarf. So whatever's coming next... Yeah.
But how can they do two versions? I mean, the actors are the actors, right? So
it just strikes of Octopussy and Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Get other actors to? I mean, the only person that
apparently
looks the same
so.
The only person that looks the same is Cat. The guy who plays Cat. He hasn't changed at all after all these years. He still looks the same.
I agree.
You have another universe and an evil version of Red Dwarf, and they face each other.
Maybe.
Well, the idea that's got spoken about quite a lot is a book that'll be written by Rob Grant, because I think he preferred writing the books anyway, and he's had several successful books since his involvement with Red Dwarf sort of ceased, whenever it was, 15, 20 years ago. So apparently he's going to write a book which will be about the early days of Rimmer and Lister when they first met, and hopefully the plan will be to turn that book into a TV show, a mini-series, or maybe even a movie, which will feature new cast members as the established characters. So that's some way off. That book, I don't think he's even started that book yet. Maybe has, maybe hasn't, I don't know. This new series is the first word that we've heard of it. Doug Naylor, he's continuing to work on the show itself. And so the prospect at the moment is for yet another one of these that they did back in 2020. So if you remember The Promised Land, that was a mini series, wasn't it? So it was 3 standard episodes that kind of told one story.
Yeah,
and you could either watch it all in one on the night. I think it premiered as a feature length thing, but then over the week they sort of split it up as well. And it did. When I heard about that format, I just thought it wasn't right for Red Dwarf at all, but I was proven to be completely wrong. This thing did really, really well. Not only creatively, it undoubtedly worked. I was wrong. The DVDs and Blu-rays of it sold like hotcakes. So they're sticking with that format for more. I was a little surprised, but because it's been 5 years, and it doesn't seem like much just to get 90 minutes after 5 years, but considering what they've been through there, John, perhaps it's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I've laughed at some of the newer stuff, but it's the season 3 onwards that really cracked me up back in the day. I mean, I'm talking when it's peak with like Legion and Quarantine, and
Quarantine was amazing.
They were brilliant, weren't they? And
they were.
Just the one where they go to the planet and it's Rimmer's.
Oh yeah, loads of Rimmers.
And it's great.
The backwards one was funny.
Yeah,
Backwards up,
Classic after classic after classic. There's not many episodes that I would say that were duds at all. I've got a quote here from Robert Llewellyn about the new announcement that it's going to start filming next month, and he said, "We knew we were going to do more Red Dwarf, and we're actually now doing it in the middle of October, right through to the middle of November. A 90-minute special." 3.5 hours. So yes, we are making more. I can't believe I've agreed to do it. I'm insane. I'm much too old.
Well,
He's pushing 70, Robert Llewellyn.
yeah, he is. But he's still funny though, and he still
funny.
plays Crichton very, very well. And I laughed at the last one, so they still have that humor thing working for it. So
See,
I can't wait to see this one.
I'm okay with them getting older because I like the fact that they're space bums. So they're just out there still going on these stupid adventures, getting older and older, not got back to Earth.
And like Ryan says, because they're playing them as older men, it works. It's quite novel.
I do think, especially given the history and the legacy of Red Dwarf, that more folks could give these guys the benefit of the doubt, especially given the current year with how low standards are in terms of creativity and entertainment. An average Red Dwarf would just hit the competition for 6. And I know actors, they do get old, just like professional wrestlers get old, but it's like an addiction. You just want to keep doing it as long as you can. And I'm sure they can come up with in-law reasons why they're getting a bit older, or why the combat robot has gained a few pounds. You can say it's like oxidization or something. But that just goes to show that ultimately all good things must come to an end.
Yes.
The gaps between projects is not ideal, because usually if you want to do something, you got to do it as soon as possible.
When you've got a fan base that's positively ravenous for it, Ryan, it's unfair that they have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's basically TV has changed, right? So when Red Dwarf was at the height of its powers, it was like once one season finished, you knew the next season was coming next year. But with this, because the show goes, and the way that streaming is, you'll have one, like for instance, was it Squid Game? Squid Game. How many years was that ago? And now I think
3?
it's going to be in November. It's coming out in November. It's like 3 years.
I heard it was coming out on Boxing Day.
Oh, was it? Oh, so I don't know. Yeah. So and that can spoil your want to see, because I have no intention of seeing the second Squid Game. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean? While I watched it, I thought it was great, but the distance between watching it and it coming out, but I'm not even excited about it because it's been such a long time. They should have, like the old days, keep the momentum going. But they don't.
It's been a number of years now since the last season of Stranger Things as well, but people are still hanging in there for that. But with something like this, Red Dwarf, and James Bond is the same. It'll be some years before there's another film out in the cinemas. They're no closer to getting the thing written or making any announcements, it strikes me. I do feel for Red Dwarf fans, Chris, mostly because I am one, and I know that if Doctor Who fans would have had to wait 5 years. We'd be laughing.
We'd be laughing.
5 years is too little. Just make it 100, and I don't have to deal with that.
Know what I mean, though.
With the, I think I've said before, Red Dwarf. It was my lead into Doctor Who on PBS in 1990. They would play Red Dwarf, and then they do the omnibus version of whatever Doctor Who episode. I remember very distinctly when I first saw Red Dwarf, they were playing near the end of Tom Baker's run. My view on this is the same as when we last discussed it back in 2022. I'd actually completely forgotten about it until you brought it up today. I have no interest in watching a split rights alternate reality.
It's a tough sell, isn't it?
Show. Well, the show is 34 years old. I'm like, I think it just, there are some shows that just need to stay in the past. I was happy for some of the stuff they did in the 2010s.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was a fine way to go. It's like the X-Files. The X-Files, we learned in the late 2010s, does not work outside of the 90s. everything about it in current year is wrong.
Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
think it's the I think certain TV shows only work at they're products of their time. I'm like, you couldn't do another Columbo now, to reference something that we were talking about earlier. You couldn't do another Rockford Files. For some reason, they're doing another Matlock.
With a woman.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Well, it's Kathy Bates. I like Kathy Bates, but why does it have to be Matlock?
Matlock, yeah. Why couldn't it be another character? Because what is the point of actually making her Matlock? The only reason why is to be spiteful and to actually reinvent that character. You have no need to reinvent that character. You can create a totally new character for Kathy Bates because she's a brilliant actress. Why do this? It makes no sense.
Did you see her announce this week as well, Ian, that this will be her final role? She's retiring after this.
Well, she should retire before she does the show. So, do you know what I mean? It's just a waste of everyone's time. It really is. I love Kathy Bates. I hope she doesn't retire.
No, it's like I don't think I've ever seen Kathy Bates in anything that I haven't liked, because she does have, ever since I first saw her in Misery back in 1990. We derailed this and went to something else. So they were talking about bringing things back. So I guess it is kind of tangentially, I can never pronounce that word, related. But I think that my main point is
the difference here with this, though, is that they're picking up a continuity and a group of characters in universe X amount of years later. So it is different. It's closer to the X-Files, just as you were saying, Chris, at the top.
Well, the thing with the X-Files is it wasn't, the rights weren't split into two things. It was just badly written. They tried to write something in 2018 like it was 1994, and it just didn't work. I think Red Dwarf would have that, and I did notice that with the last 3-parter from 5 years ago. I'm like, I like it, but you can tell this is well past its time. So even if this was a continuity, I would think at this point, Red Dwarf, it's a show of the 1990s. It ran for that entire decade. I don't think it fits today. And if you're going to split it into two different things, like you don't do a gimmick like this with a legacy franchise that's almost 40 years old. This is something
do you think that this will, do you think therefore, Chris, we are now at a point where further Red Dwarf, where, if I'm trying to be objective about it, because I was delighted to see this news, but being objective, will it always now be an exercise in nostalgia and therefore diminish?
There are some, well, it is an exercise in nostalgia, but you can have good nostalgia and you can have bad nostalgia. I think when they, the 2009 series Back to Earth, that was dreadful. But the first full regular season they did in 2012 of 6 episodes, I think, as a novelty, I think it works. You revisit this show just this one time only, and then it's like, okay, that's cool. Then it rides off into the sunset, but they dragged that on for several seasons. Same thing with the X-Files. They did, their 6 seasons. The mythology episodes at the beginning and the end were just god awful. But the episode 2 or 3 out of the 4 episodes in the middle were okay. So like for just a one-off nostalgia trip, that's fine. But if you're going to take something that's old, something that ran its course decades ago, and a lot of these shows have, it dilutes the original. It's the same thing with for several years, a lot of us could not watch Star Trek The Next Generation because of what they did to Captain Picard. Thank God the 3rd season so I could watch The Next Generation again. But it's this constant. And Red Dwarf is another example. When it came back in 2009, like the idea of a show coming back that had been canceled was novel. This is one of the first times I remember seeing it, where now it's mainstream. I'm tired of reboots. I'm tired of all old shows coming back. Like one of my favorite shows is Frasier. I have not watched the reboot. I will never watch it.
I have.
Is it bad?
It's not too bad. It's not anyway as good as the original show.
You can't have it without the original cast.
Yeah, it's fighting to find its place, but it's never going to find its place because it's all, as you said, Bolstrek, it's all based on nostalgia, and there's no need for it. I mean,
nostalgia has been done to death.
Yeah.
Like it's like there are the exceptions, like Picard season 3, we'd all lost hope on Star Trek because everything that's come out in the past 20 years has been god awful. So we did get that one little gold nugget in the pile of excrement. So that was, but I just, okay, stop bringing everything back. You've brought back everything now. You've killed everything. I want something new, which is why every time I see an announcement of, okay, this old show is coming back, or the show that's been gone for 5, 7, 10 years, whatever is coming back, I'm like, no, I'm not excited about it at all anymore. I'm getting old. Give me something new.
Just take the example of Matlock, right? The people that liked Matlock, they're probably gone now. So why have Matlock?
My grandparents'
It does seem a strange one.
Well, my grandparents' generation loved Matlock.
Yeah,
and
same mine.
And they'd all be in their hundreds now.
Yeah, exactly.
Something gets so old that everyone who enjoyed it originally dies.
Yeah,
that's the best time to release it as something new.
I mean, what are we going to have next? A remake of T.J. Hooker? You know,
it's ridiculous,
and it'll be ridiculous.
Actually, William Shatner could play that character again, even in his 90s.
Like he used to do. Yeah,
he could.
I think I'm same as you, Chris, because I'm a massive Stargate fan of SG1 and Atlantis, and exactly every time I hear people say, "Oh, we want it back," I shudder because I think I know exactly what they're going to do to it, and it just won't be Stargate. So just leave it where it is. Give me something.
But seriously,
fresh.
though, do you know what I think? The reason why shows are not working is because, I mean, you do get breakouts like Squid Game and Stranger Things and stuff like that. But the reason why they're not working is because sometimes you just don't have the channel. Like, for instance, I've been watching Bad Monkey via, Sailing the Seven Seas, I guess. And I think it's great. Do you know what I mean? It's a shame it's not on Netflix, and it's a shame it's not on a network channel, because I think it would do very well personally. But that's what I'm saying. It's because there's so many channels that it's split. And, it's so like one series could be on this channel, then suddenly it's on another channel that you don't have anymore. Do you know what I mean? And it's crazy. I just think the whole thing is spoilt. Plus this generation don't have the patience to go for a whole series anymore. So I don't know.
We say a version of that every week. And I always think it's really hard on Zoomers, because the stats don't seem to show that. Time after time after time, we have series like Friends and Suits that do get rediscovered by that generation. So it's not that I don't think they haven't got the attention span. I think that habitually they relate to the content in a different way.
Yeah, I think because it's Friends. And, from our generation to the generation after us, it's a cultural thing. So people watch it. And also, remember, the show is generally funny. I don't care what anyone says. A lot of people hate Friends, whatever. But when you watch those,
it was massively successful. Exactly, but how do we account for something like Suits, which was it was on for 5 years, but it sort of muddled on, didn't it? It never really had much of a fan base. And,
well, Suits is a good show as well. If you watch it, you get wrapped up into it. So I don't understand what's going on personally, but I think it's the quality of the show. That's what it is, I think. Sorry. Bellstrike, go on.
I think my theory is everything that comes out now is so bland and awful that that young people, those that are interested in something that is longer than a 15-second TikTok garbage video, gravitate to the better show. Like, and I say it all the time, everything I watch is like decades old. I can't stand most new stuff, but the same thing has happened in music as well. Like most of the young kids, it's odd because every decade of the 20th century, you'd have, with each decade, you'd hate the previous music from the previous decade, then you'd like the new stuff, then you'd hate it. 90s music and early 2000s music never really went away because it wasn't replaced with everything, because it all became corporatized crap. So now when you look at young people, say people who are in their 20s or even teens, they're listening to the same stuff that we listened to when we were teens, and it's because the stuff that's coming out now is terrible. So that's I think it's the same thing with entertainment and TV shows. It's what we have on Netflix. You get the occasional good show like Black Bass or Squid Games, but most of it is just crap. Whereas 30 years ago, say something from the 90s or maybe even something from the early 2000s, there was thought into it, and it was obviously corporatized, but not to the degree it is now. It wasn't created by a focus group. There's actual creativity, and that's why I think older entertainment translates much better than modern entertainment. Like like everybody knows, I'm a horror fan. I struggle through modern horror movies, and I still go to Walmart, whatever's there. Most of the time, it's like it takes me a couple tries to get through the whole thing. I don't like the way I hate HD video. I think it looks bland compared to film. I'm not engrossed in it. Give me something from 20 years ago shot on 35 mil and I'm engrossed for an hour and a half. And you could give me something from today and something from 30 years ago, neither of which I've seen, and I do this all the time. The modern movie, I'm bored out of my mind. Sometimes I don't even finish it. Give me a horror movie, even a low budget, terrible movie from the 90s. I'm engrossed throughout the whole thing.
I think it's quality at the end of the day. If the show's quality is good, I think it will survive throughout the years. That's what I think. So
like that with Seinfeld. Or Star Trek, the classic series, or classic Doctor Who, which is the only Doctor Who I will acknowledge.
Red Dwarf has definitely survived over the years. The original
series, definitely.
I feel that the fandom I wouldn't necessarily describe as a sleeping giant, but I think they've become increasingly underserved in recent years. I want to see as much. I want to see these guys playing these characters for as long as they want to, but I too am hesitant. I have my doubts about tangential products from a divided franchise. I can't see that. I can't see how that will go well. We've got to move on now, but I want to just end with this quote here from Rob Grant, who says that, yes, he is working on a separate prequel set just before the events of the very first episode, The End, which screened originally in 1988. And he says it's planned as a novel and a TV show. We're working on them both in tandem. The script will inform the novel and vice versa. And that way you'll get a much richer project. Let's hope that Rob can deliver on that. Are you a Red Dwarf fan from back in the day, or did you discover it later on cable TV? Were you press ganged into watching it by a parent? Did they force DVDs or VHS tapes into your player and demand you get on board with the show because it's got such a massive following? Let us know in the comments section, all you Red Dwarf fans. It is on its way back. Next year, we're promised, faithfully by the sounds of it.
The signal goes out. Crime is on the rise. Batman returns. Exploding with power, the Bat ski boat thunders ahead, bolting onto land for a missile attack.
Gotta fly, my dear Penguin Commandos. The time has come to punish Batman. Batman?
Deep dive Batman surfaces.
Fire!
Tearing into battle, Batman blasts his torpedo.
Penguins all wet.
Gotham City's greatest hero, Batman returns.
Happy Batman Day, everybody. 85 years old. Everything's got a day now, Ryan. Have you noticed this? Today is, by coincidence, Batman Day.
Yeah.
whole day in the calendar here to celebrate the Caped Crusader, originally created by Bob Kane, of course, all those years ago for DC Comics, and has been reinvented time after time after time in multiple media, not just the comics and the TV shows and the movies, but gaming as well. There's a whole line of those too. Batman really is a multimedia phenomena that never seems to really dim in its appeal. And even though there's no Batman movie in the cinema now and no Batman show proper on TV, DC has been celebrating this, and so has Warner's, because it's one of their most identifiable characters. I mean, I think that Batman is still keeping DC Comics afloat with a huge amount of titles because it's such a big seller. Depending on sort of when you grew up, if you were even slightly into comics, you probably picked up Batman or had it bought for you at some point by someone, John.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, since I was a little kid, it was Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. They were the three. Obviously, the '89 movie was massive for me as a young kid. And I'm going to be celebrating today. Later on, I've got Batman Nightfall to read again and The Long Halloween. So I'm going to be happy till about 4 a.m. I reckon.
4 a.m.
We be able to sleep after reading.
I'm very rock and roll. You guys know that. You know, I live on the edge.
The edge.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is now what we're talking about. When we look at something like Batman, Ian, this is an American classic, isn't it? You talked about Red Dwarf a moment ago. You can't get much more British than Red Dwarf. You can't get much more American than Batman, can you? Right. So.
But Batman's changed since we were growing up. When I was growing up, that was the colours that I recognise of Batman's costume in the comics. But also,
me too. This is how I like it.
It was seeing Batman punch people, kick people, you know, the Batmobile, whatever, in the comics. And then when Burton's film came out, it changed the whole concept of Batman for me anyway. And then the cartoon followed through with Burton's version of Batman. And now we've got this new version of Batman, you know, the Twilight guy version. You know, it's you know, Batman's never going to die.
I think when you look back on the way it's sort of one version has rolled into another and into another, and sometimes there's been 2 or 3 different versions running at any given time. Yeah. Some of them have a more sort of seismic impact than others. And Tim Burton's 1989 movie, which I remember vividly going out in the cinema, being released, I saw it like 3 or 4 times. I was obsessed with it when I was 15. It hasn't been the same since, but then again, you know, there was a massive reinvention of the comics back in 1970 as well with Neil Adams. So it takes somebody, a visionary, to come into it in whatever medium and mix it up again, and in some ways sort of take it right the way back to basics.
Yeah, I mean,
and whilst at the same time breathe some new life into it.
Did you? I mean, like for instance, right, the Tim Burton movie changed everything, in my opinion. I just think,
eventually,
I just think his costume, that picture you just showed. As a kid, when you see that picture of Batman, you're like, that's Batman. But I like the way Tim Burton shows through his costume and the Batmobile violence. If you look at Batman, it just reeks of violence, doesn't it? All those little muscles, you know, that costume just looks, you know, it just looks someone that you won't mess with.
It's no mean feat to make a little bloke like Michael Keaton look like he can do you a lot of damage. Yeah. I always think, Chris.
Also, I didn't realize that he was wearing Nike trainers in his boots, wasn't he? So they were trying to promote Nike, weren't they? And if you look at the bit where you look at the bit where he's holding the guy in the beginning, and you see that shot of his legs. The only reason why you got the shot of his legs is to see the Nike trainers that was connected to his boots. So there you go. I didn't know that.
They changed the outfit in Returns as well because he was complaining that he couldn't pee. So.
Yeah. So there you go. But I didn't know that, so there you go.
I personally think Batman alongside Superman, those two especially, are so iconic as characters. You could literally have a company called Batman Comics. You could literally have Superman Comics as a company. Because DC, you talk about The Walking Dead earlier on. DC is The Walking Dead as a company.
Well, DC did originally stand for Detective Comics, so Batman did effectively create the idea of that sort of the broader success in a line of comic books.
But it's Batman and Batman related comic books that are now in the top 10 in the charts for comic books, because sadly the rest of the comic book industry has gone seriously downhill, but people still want to buy Batman. They still love Batman, and I love Superman, but I've got to be honest, Superman's not near in the comic book iterations at the moment anywhere near where Batman is, and Batman's taken a bit of a hit, but it's just such an iconic character, isn't it? You know, so good. And I love when you talk about there's different times and you get lucky with iterations. I mean, Burton was heavily inspired by Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. You know, that's clearly obvious. There's an element there, and it took it on again. And like you said, Ian, you know, you had the animated series, which is still up there as in my top 10 of shows that I adore.
Yeah.
So it's just these iconic characters have a way of lasting because they reinvent themselves for the current era they're in.
Yeah.
So keep it going. I need Batman in my life.
I love Batman.
Yeah, and a bit of a dearth of the Batman himself in this pretty big anniversary year. The Batman, the Matt Reeves movie that came out in 2022. I said last week to you, didn't I, Chris? I confided how much I bloody hated this film.
I joined that club.
As a physical media enthusiast, this is a strange one. So I'd gotten the 4K for free from somebody that didn't like it, and I'd been meaning to watch it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. So this was my experience. The movie was terrible, but it's the best up there as being one of the best looking 4Ks I've ever seen. Like this, it blew me away. So I'm like, I hate what I'm watching, but it looks so damn good. So if you're looking to show off your home theater system, this is one of the movies I would suggest. But Batman is you look at the dichotomy of Marvel and DC. It could be argued that Marvel may have had the best run overall from 2008 to when it did its face plant to current year around 2020. But I would say the 5 best superhero films of all time would be Batman. So specifically Batman 1989, which I think is the best superhero film ever made. Batman Returns, which I didn't realize until I got older how dark that movie actually is.
Great movie.
And the Nolan films. And I know a lot of people are split on the Nolan films.
They're okay.
I think they're masterpieces, but that's just me. I love what they did.
Knight is super.
But Bolstrek, did you realize that the Batman was shot digitally? Then they took that, correct me if I'm wrong, right? They took that digital edit and they put it on film.
There was some kind of trickery.
and then they put it out again or digitally. So I don't understand why they did that. But
well, I guess if you do it that well, if you look at digital film, like it's so the picture is so clean, which is part of the problem I have with it. In theory, you could stick a 35 mil camera and film it perfectly. And I did remember seeing something like that because I said it like within this podcast. I'm not a fan of modern digital film. I don't like the look of it. I like the look of film. I like the look of film grain. And that's one of the things that confused me when I'm looking at this. I'm like, it's digital, but it looks awesome. This does not look like any of the other DC movies. And I think the DC movies actually have looked better than some of the Marvel movies, and the 4K transfers.
I by far prefer the look of DC movies simply because of the fact that they go with the creators. They're all very, very different. I'm always more interested in what DC are doing, and they've had plenty of failures in recent years, but most of them have been really interesting films that have I think they've failed. When they have failed, they've tended to fail for different reasons.
Well,
really.
some of them,
like
they have gone current year. Birds of Prey must be one of the worst things I've ever.
Well, the
sat
Batman's
through.
current year well. The Batman's current year as well.
There's a measure. There's definitely a measure of it in there, isn't
there? But they've done Wonder Woman, the original one, although 1984 ruined everything, including the first movie.
I have nightmares about that.
But no, I went to see Blue Beetle in theaters with the nephews, and actually, honestly, if it were released 15 years ago, it would have been fine. Like, it's
I think that film looks perfectly okay.
Around it,
it was The Flash.
Oh
the
God,
Flash was terrible.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I mean, when you've got an iconic, you got Michael Keaton as Batman. If you're going to bring him back, you don't have him as a supporting character for Ezra Miller's The Flash.
Stupidness.
Everybody wanted a Batman Beyond movie. You know?
I think that could have worked. Bringing Michael Keaton back would have been a brilliant present for the 85th anniversary of Batman. Apparently, they're about to start filming the Batman Part 2. More on that a little bit later on. But in the meantime, we've got this for the small screen. Is there a small screen anymore? So the size of most TVs, I don't know. But we've got this spin-off show from DC and Max, which used to be HBO Max. I don't know if they ever still use that, HBO Max. But it's a Max original, simply called The Penguin. It's an 8-episode original limited series from DC Studios that continues, it says here, the epic crime saga that was begun with Matt Reeves with the global blockbuster The Batman. See, I'm big enough to admit that even though I didn't like that movie, it was very, very popular. This TV show has been, I think it's been carefully hyped up. There have been some nice trailers, some slick posters, and it's got a good cast as well. So it's led by Colin Farrell in the same role that he had in The Batman, playing the Penguin, and supported by Kristen Milioti, absolutely gorgeous girl I've seen in multiple other things. Michael Kelly. You've got Clancy Brown's in there as well. James Madio, Scott Cohen. So lots of faces that you will recognise from pretty similar kinds of movies and TV shows, ironically. But yeah, I thought this is such a big series and such an ambitious thing to do for this brand while we're waiting for another Batman movie to take a character which I don't think there was that much of a buzz around the Penguin coming out of the Batman. I kind of forgot that he was in it, but to pitch this as the big supporting project that will hopefully, I suppose, they want to keep your juices flowing until the next film comes out. So you've got to sit down and watch this week after week, just like the astronaut is here, and sort of soak it all in. So when it comes to event television, it either grabs you or it doesn't. Usually, I've noticed, Ian, that they will get a big star. Nowadays, it tends to be somebody from the movies. They bring them to TV. This isn't the first TV that Colin Farrell's ever done. I think he started out on British TV, but it's his first for a long time.
Didn't he? Sugar.
Yeah, you can't recognise the guy.
No,
as the Penguin, so I suppose it's not going to do him any harm if it does fail. But when you heard about this project, what did you think, Ian? I mean, when you saw him as the Penguin in the Batman movie, what did you think?
I didn't like the Batman movie, and I just thought. But did he stand out? But did he stand out to you in any way, though? He's under makeup and he didn't do much in the film, so no, he didn't really stand out to me. I just wanted to see Batman. We didn't get Batman. We got some emo Batman, whatever. Right. But with this Penguin, the series, the Penguin, I don't really see the point of it. Tell you the truth, I watched the first episode. I kind of liked it, but I missed the fantastical about Batman. It's very realistic, this version of Batman, and I don't know where they're going with it. I must say that I didn't hate it, but I thought it was okay, and I'm not going to run back to see another episode of this.
Because when I look back to the movie, which I admittedly didn't like, and I thought about memorable characters, like, okay, I could stand a little bit more of that. I hate to say this, despite the fact that Colin Farrell was good in the role in the movie, I kept forgetting he was in it. It wouldn't have bothered me one way or the other. I would have been more interested in a Catwoman show starring Zoe Kravitz in that suit than this.
Sorry, I just thought it was personally, right. I just thought it was okay. I don't see the point of this. There's no point, right? Plus, if people don't have what channel is this one on again? Max, is it?
Max in the States. On here, over here, I think it's on Sky Atlantic. Is it, John? And Now TV, one of those things here.
If they don't have that, and they go to see the next Batman film, they're going to be lost. Again, I really don't see the point of this show at all. You know, I've seen some reviews. A lot of people like this. It is you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. I just want to see Batman fantastical again. I really do. But you know, that's
this is based on a specific character of the Penguin created for DC Comics by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. And first showed up in Detective Comics number 58 in 1941, and since then he's gone on to become one of the most, I suppose, repeated and recast and reimagined of the characters in multiple media. But even in the comics, the character has changed very drastically. The original idea was that Oswald Cobblepot, what a terrible name, aka the Penguin, tagged himself as the gentleman of crime. That's how he would sort of announce himself. And the idea was, because I think when the character was originated, when was it? It was in the early to mid 40s when the character was originated. A lot of these gangsters wore tuxedos, and they were called penguin suits. So that was a thing then. That was part of the culture that Bob Kane was deliberately leaning into. Whereas now, the best part of 80 years later, a lot of those things get sort of lost to time, don't they? And I think we can see by looking at some of the artwork here that the Tim Burton version of the character has really influenced where it's now gone on the printed page in particular. And he's become far, far more grotesque and sort of mutated. We've seen several interpretations, of course, on the telly as well as in the movies. Some more memorable than others.
Yeah.
And Danny DeVito in Tim Burton's movie, and Robin Taylor Lord, that wasn't it, in that Gotham show?
Him. Yeah.
At the superb original Batman animated series, where the Penguin was one of many great standout characters. Yeah. But for a lot of people, Burgess Meredith is never really going to be topped in that outrageous performance all the way back in '66. But times do change, and I'm not a big one for gangster films or TV shows of any kind, really, Ryan. I enjoy The Godfather. I like all those things. But it's kind of like Westerns. They're the very least... They tend to be the very last things that I go back to. Because like Ian, I prefer the more fantastical stuff. So when they announced this, I thought, well, it's going to be more of what I didn't like about that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the consequence of having, for lack of a better term, a reality-based project. Because a lot of where DC have been leaning in, especially with Batman and all of his contemporary villains, is that let's make it more realistic. Let's make it more grounded, more dark, and more gritty, and that'll breathe new life into it. That's had its time now. We've had good chunks of that. I actually really enjoyed this first episode.
So did I. After what I've just said, I really enjoyed it too.
It reminded me of a HBO production. Right? Why didn't they get rid of the Max and keep the HBO? But I will say that I think the point of this show, likewise with the point of streaming, is content. These streaming platforms act like content creators, but you could only act like a content creator with minimal budgets and lots of time and lots of effort, and then you can make a name for yourself. I mean, I wanted to say this during our Red Dwarf discussion, but a lot of the reasons why you're seeing more and more of these things coming out now is because of that need for content. So they're literally throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Max is doing a similar, is adopting a similar model with a spin-off series from the Dune movies, aren't they? The Denis Villeneuve things. So they're sticking. Well, I suppose with that, again, there's a lot of source material. Frank Herbert wrote a lot of Dune stuff. With this, you see how I feel about it is, and I did really, really enjoy this. And yet, I've had, for 20 years, Chris, I've had people recommending The Sopranos to me. And I'm sure it is just as brilliant as people say. But the reason why I have never really watched it is because largely I don't gravitate towards that kind of television. If I'm honest, if this wasn't connected with what is technically a superhero brand, regardless of who's in it or who was directing it or writing it, I'd have probably avoided it like the plague. So where do you stand on this? Because it does seem to me like it's all well and good and I really enjoyed it, but is it really doing anything that hasn't been seen or done before? When you look back at the precise the genre within a genre that it's connecting with.
Well, and actually, I'm with you, Dan. I've been meaning to watch The Sopranos since I think 1999 is when it came out. So one of these days, I might finally get around to it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's really good.
Wow.
One of these days I'll get around to it. But I love The Godfather, Scarface,
so do I.
Heat. I love those kinds of. It's obviously not my favorite genre, but it's I enjoy it when it's around. I had actually forgotten this was coming out, and I had no interest in watching it until I sent Dan the message this morning, and I was about to message him back. I'm like, wait, what are we covering today? And then you put it up on X. I'm like, oh, the Penguin. Okay, I'll watch it. So I watched it today.
Thank you.
I was expecting to be bored out of my skull. I started the first episode like 66 minutes. Good Lord. So I also learned that it's been so long since I've watched anything on Crave, which is where it is in Canada, that my TV had actually logged me out. So I need to reevaluate what I'm spending on that. But I was amazed where I'm getting into. I like this, and then by the time it was done, I really like this. And I've said earlier the Nolan films, like I love the realistic thing. I think I keep saying that superhero movies are dead, and I think it will be for a long time. But I don't think you could do the Marvel style movies again, because that's just been run into the ground, and it just keeps getting worse to the point where it's a parody of a parody at this point. They've
got to give it up, haven't they? Yeah. They've got to go back to the drawing board with the Marvel stuff.
Well, it's the same thing with what DC had been doing pre-James Gunn, where they had those, 5 movies that they had to get out. Blue Beetle was the only one of the lot of them that was really watchable, but they were trying to imitate what Marvel is doing. But in terms of the gritty, realistic superhero movies, the last one that really grabbed everyone was Dark Knight Rises, which that was 2012, which amazingly was 12 years ago now.
Yeah, I do love those Nolan films. I really do.
Then the DCEU tried copying that really twice and failed. Man of Steel failed because you could do that with Batman. You cannot do that with Superman.
You think they would know that?
Symbol of hope.
They're the antithesis of each other, and I don't see how this didn't occur to Zack Snyder. I'm like, the reason that works with Batman is a very dark character. Superman is a very optimistic, bright character. You cannot make a Batman-themed Superman, which is why that failed, which is for many reasons why Batman v Superman failed, and then they went into Marvel copying crap.
But should have switched the roles.
What surprised me about this, because I think when we look at how DC and Marvel to some extent, but DC in particular, a lot of the films have been quite bloated and a little bit pretentious and overlong. Which the culmination of which was Matt Reeves' The Batman, which I found so relentlessly boring and dim that I couldn't wait to get out of the cinema. And it was simple loyalty to the brand and the fact that it cost me the best part of a tenner to see it that led me to stay seated in that spot for like 2 3/4 bloody hours.
Tell me about it.
So I didn't find it gripping at all. This, though, I felt was considerably more watchable. I thought it told its story a lot better. I got a real feel for the characters, and just like you, Chris, I wasn't dreading watching this, but I didn't think I'd find much in it to jump on. But I was 40, I think I'd got 40 odd minutes into it, and I realised I'd slowly sort of fell under its spell.
That's right, and where I was too.
And even though there's a lot of cliches in here too, lots of people sort of talking very lowly in darkened rooms and sort of and kind of talking in a roundabout way, and things in the trunks of cars and shuffling around in the rain. There's all that stuff's in here, and yet it somehow managed to absolutely engross me.
I was like that too. And it was probably about the 40-minute mark, because literally I went into this thinking I'm going to hate it. So I had my coffee, and I'm like, I'm throwing a ball around for Sky, and I'm like, hey, we'll just do this and get through the 66 minutes. And then at the halfway point, I'm like, my God, I actually don't hate this. I'm actually getting into it. Then we get to the end. I'm like, I'm really getting into this. Well, damn it. Originally today, I was going to cancel my subscription to Crave because I haven't used it in months. So I'm like, why am I paying for this crap? And then, so now I want to see what happens. So I'm not going to be canceling my subscription to Crave. But yeah, I had no expectations, had no desire to watch this. It's one of these things where it came out of nowhere. I'm like, I'm not going to say it's brilliant, but I enjoyed it. And there's very little now that I enjoy. So the fact that I didn't hate it is a compliment.
I think part of the reasons why it worked for me, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, Chris, is that it was very clear, or as clear as it can be for the purposes of drama, who wants what and why. The screen isn't filled with a dozen people. We've got to try and learn their names, remember who's who and who's connected to who by what. It's, say, half a dozen people, the characters are explored really, really nicely. There are leaves to their books that I wasn't expecting. For example, this young kid that the Penguin kind of takes under his wing, sort of, albeit at gunpoint, and Oz's own mother as well. The way that character slowly develops, I didn't see any of that coming. It was so nicely done, so carefully written. So there's all these little things going on in the corner that it just wasn't what I was expecting.
Well, Colin Farrell is actually, it's amazing. He actually is a decent actor, which
Super
I would have
actor.
expected looking at the beginning of his career. You know, I'd actually forgotten it was him when I was watching. I'm like, was that Colin Farrell? Was he? Oh yeah, it is. Like, damn. But no,
it's like a bodysuit. The only thing that is actually him, his hands and his feet. Even his penis is prosthetic, folks. They did the whole damn thing. But you know,
whenever he was on screen in the Batman movie, the spell was completely broken for me because I spent the entire time going, "That's Colin Farrell," and "That's Colin Farrell," and looking, is it Colin Farrell? So it took me out of it. But with this, because I feel the storytelling is superior, I forgot that was Colin Farrell. I got immersed in the character, and hey presto, we got something which I thought was pretty damn good, pretty memorable. What are your thoughts, John?
I was skeptical at first, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. That it's only episode 1, so I'm hoping it sticks the landing. But going back to what Ryan said a few minutes ago, I'm kind of in agreement where, you know, when you talk about content, I just want things like this now to sit on their own. I'm very, very tired of this links into this movie coming and so forth.
Started with Marvel.
Yeah.
Puts more people off than it does brings people in there.
Because also, you know, if you're going to go and watch a film, you shouldn't have to have watched an entire backstory of episodes to figure out, right, who's doing what here, there, and everywhere. Just give us the film. But I'm still sticking to it. I don't think there is going to be a Batman 2.
Oh. Yeah, they've started.
I've got a bit of an update. I've got an update about the Batman 2 coming later on, so I've got something about that.
Do you know?
It's really good.
Do you know one of the things I hated about this show is the color palette? I hate it, and I can't stress how much I hate it, is when they use one color for every scene. Like, it starts off in orange, it keeps going with orange until you get to daylight. Every movie does this now. If you go back to the 70s, Cool Hand Luke, all those films that, you know, you see something in Technicolor and you see all the colors, and you know what I mean? I'm just fed up with this horrible CGI DOP-ing. I hate it.
It's to make it kind of look both modern and yet harken back to the 40s and the 50s as well, isn't it? In this case, with these kind of olive greens and teals and things like that. No, it doesn't do anything for me either, to tell you the truth.
It's an effort of trying to be realistic and trying to portray the real world, and it doesn't come off as organic, which is why folks hate it. I've only got a few minutes left before I have to prepare to be on another show, but I will say, ladies and gentlemen, I think this show started off well. It's going to be a means to an end for Penguin to take over the city, to be the main villain of the second movie.
They're very clear. They are very clear about that at the start. They're pointing the way to that, aren't they? That's not something that they're trying to cover up in any way. In fact, they're signposting it.
And I think for the ending of the second film, he gets done in by Batman, by the Batman, emo Batman. So
you can't call him you got to call him the Batman.
Nirvana Batman.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Well, I've got about a minute now, so I'm going to have to head off. But thank you all very much.
Thank you for your company, Ryan.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Ryan.
And
good to see you.
Well, you can check me out over at Ryan Roger Athe, host and founder of Reality Base. We talk about lots of things in regards to topics of the day, and I also showcase fellow creators as rising stars. So hopefully,
like all of us.
enjoy that. Yes. Got to write all your names down. Put you in.
I was rising earlier on this afternoon, full enough.
Oh my!
There's a picture of Sydney Sweeney. That's why she was rising. There you go.
Well, I'll leave you all to it. Stay here, folks. I'm only going because I have to be on another show. I was invited on another show, but I'm sure you will enjoy what Dan has to offer. And fingers crossed, he can make this non-Doctor Who related channel as successful as his Doctor Who related channel. So
thank you, Ryan.
Bye for now, guys.
See you later.
Bye, Ryan. Enjoy the rest of your night.
And then there were 4. There you go.
I bet I asked him fucking first. Cheeky bastard. Thanks for your company, Ryan. Come back again another day, mate, by all means. Yes, so, the Penguin. Yes, when they talk about saga, and this connects with, I suppose, stuff like The Godfather, which I think we've already mentioned 2 or 3 times. It's pointing to shape and a purpose, and something of a kind of mythic structure. Ryan is quite right in that. On the surface of it, a lot of the parts are already showing, and so you think, well, why am I going to watch this for 2 months when they're telling me what's going to happen? We've got to hope that there are going to be some surprises in the mix, I suppose, John, and that's something that we're never going to know until we get there. But in the meantime, the other bait for our loyalty is characterization, isn't it? And for me, that so far is very, very strong.
Absolutely, and I hope it sort of continues like this. I don't want it, as much as I enjoyed Gotham when it was on, I don't want it to be throughout this series sort of seeing other villains popping up.
Oh yeah,
no, me neither.
Call a penguin.
I don't want any other connective tissue or calls to this or post-credit sequences. I just want to be told a clean story.
Exactly right, and I think it's got potential. I really, as I said, I really enjoyed the first episode. I like the fact that they've, again, Sophia's in it from, you'll know Dan from the comic books. But I'm just curious about where they're going to go with him. But one thing I do hope for as well is, I'm similar to Chris. I love the Nolan movies, but I do want to get back to kind of what Ian was saying, where I want that fantastical element of the Batman universe again. I want it to be not so gritty and grounded. Keaton's the one for me. I'm not going to get that with this series, but I just hope we get back to that.
It's clearly not, I suppose. Again, I've only got. If I hadn't have liked this, I'd have only have had myself to blame, because the Batman wasn't like that. It wasn't really fantastical in any way.
Yeah,
and neither. I mean, the souped up muscle car was probably about as unlikely as it would get, and the sense of scale, I suppose, was amped up. But apart from that, it really was quite whatever the opposite of fantastical is.
Yeah. And
I do tire of that. So I have to be in a particular frame of mind for it.
Yeah, and you're right, Dan. And I think with that, the Batman, I was like you. I didn't like it. I walked out of it and I was like, oh, that was a waste. And I kind of gave it a chance because I thought, oh, this is one where they're trying to lean harder into sort of like, the greatest detective kind of mindset for Batman.
That's what I wanted as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just wasn't. And I just want it to just kind of get to a great Batman movie again that mixes the two, because they're capable of doing it, or they should be, because there's so much reference material to draw on.
It's clearly not something that interests this particular creative who's obviously running those movies and is executive producing this TV show. So I think, well, it's sort of up to me. And there are so many different versions of the Batman universe kicking around at any given time.
Yeah,
I do have my choice. I think I'm going to wait and see how all 8 of them play out, and judge it on its own merits, Ian.
Yeah,
because to be honest, watching this, and I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Because as I just said to you, Chris, watching this, I did get completely engrossed, but by the same measure, I completely forgot that it was not just connected to a film that I didn't like, but connected to anything else at all. So I wonder, well, was that deliberate? Is that what they wanted to push?
Sorry, go ahead, Bowstrike. Go on.
Okay, I'll be quick. Now I'm even forgetting what I was saying. Go ahead, Ian, and I'll remember what I was saying.
No, I was just saying that I look, I liked it, right, but I don't see the point in it personally, and I'm not really interested in seeing any more. Tell you the truth,
is it awards bait, Ian? Do you think for Colin Farrell to get an Emmy or whatever those kind of things
he's
are?
Brilliant. He's brilliant as the Penguin. Absolutely brilliant. The makeup's absolutely fantastic. First notch. But for me, right, I don't really want to know about the Penguin. I'm a big Batman fan. Don't like the Reeves version of Batman. If the second one comes out, I might go and see it. See, that's where I stand with this. It's not.
Me too. Exactly. Yeah.
It's not that I think this show is rubbish. It is good. I enjoyed it, but I don't see the point in taking a villain and giving him a show. Right? What is the point in that? They do that to every villain now for some reason. I don't like Kraven the Hunter. What's the point in Kraven the Hunter? I don't want to know about Kraven the Hunter. I don't want to know. It
depends. I think it depends on the villain. I think. I think it depends on the villain.
Yeah, and also and on top of that, I really detest the photography in TV shows and movies now. They keep doing the same thing all the time. I'm just, as a filmmaker, I'm just tired of it. I just want to see colors. I want to see different colors.
By my own admission, I'm a bit of a squirrel. So I see another shiny nut.
You're running,
and I'm off for it. And quite frankly, what again, James Gunn isn't somebody I've always been a massive fan of.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he doesn't have anything to do with this.
No, he doesn't. No. I'm far more interested. And because all of his stuff has been announced since the Matt Reeves film and this show, I am now far more interested in anything that James Gunn is doing, which does seem to be, and obviously there'll be a version of Batman there as well.
Yeah.
You've got an adaptation. It looks as if he's adapting a Batman and Son as Batman and the Brave and the Bold, which has to be more fantastical, purposefully more fantastical version that's coming up, not that far down the line
part
now.
Of the problem, though,
it is.
It's if you look at the issues with Marvel and DC, again, it's the exact opposite. Marvel, you have all this absolute trash that's interconnected, but everything that comes out of that studio now is complete garbage. DC, really, since 2013. You have the films, but then the second half aren't really connected to the first half. Then you have the garbage that they're showing on the CW, which I think really tarnishes DC as a whole.
That's all over now, isn't it? The CW
I hope
stuff.
So. Yeah. And then you have Joker, which is another series off all on its own. You have the Batman, which is another reality all off on its own. You have James Gunn, which is yet another. For the average moviegoer, I think DC might be just as exhausting as Marvel because you have no idea what's connected to what.
Yeah,
but
there's a great many people who still don't know the difference between the two brands. Believe it or not, there are.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Batman! Isn't he a friend with Spider-Man? Yeah, he is. But what I like about this is what I liked about the first Joker film. Although I don't think. I said it before. I don't think the Joker's really aged that well 5 years later, and I have no desire to watch that catastrophe that's coming. But what I liked about the Joker is you get into, obviously the Joker is not a nice person. He's not somebody that you're rooting for, but at least in terms of that iteration of the Joker, you get into his head and find out how this version got that way. I like so far what they're doing with the Penguin, where he isn't just what you'd see in Marvel now, where it's just a cackling villain who just wants to destroy things for fun. You do understand the motivations, and his foot issue. Damn, that was gross. I was eating my sandwich when I saw that. I could have done without that. It depends, but this could go either way. you know, this could continue, and I don't know if the Batman 2 comes along. I don't know if I'm even excited.
You see, in my opinion, they didn't need to do this. Remember Nolan's film when he introduced the Joker? We had everything we needed to know about the Joker in that film, and he was only on one film. They didn't need to do this with the Penguin. I don't know why they did this with Penguin. Again, maybe you're right. They need content, so that's why they did it. It's not a matter about pleasing the fans; it's just getting content out there. But there's no need for this show at all. All of this could have been, majority of it could have been done in the next movie.
I'd rather watch this
if
than
they did it
Agatha.
properly.
Well,
oh God, no! Don't talk about that.
Yeah, well, again, this series was commissioned before Zaslav came in to shake up Warner and Discovery.
Right.
So this
was
was
a movie at one point.
Yeah, I believe.
Why?
So. then they commissioned it as a series, and it was on the under the old generals who were running DC at the time.
Because there was talk that this may get cancelled too, wasn't there, with that silly Batgirl film, and the lots of projects did die.
So this is kind of what I call a layover series from, in my opinion, what is a cancelled movie sequel, because I still think that Batman 2 is not going ahead. It's been delayed for such a long time. My view has always been, it's fricking Batman. If Batman's a success, you instantly commission a sequel to it, but they haven't. They've stalled and stalled and stalled on a Batman 2.
It's just to do another reboot, like what they did with Superman, and everybody wanted Henry Cavill. Yeah, and James Gunn is going to have to prove to me with his Superman movie that this was worth it. But to do a complete reboot, it could be the same thing with Batman. They're going to reboot Batman again for how many times in 20 years?
Absolutely. And do you know what? If they do reboot him, let's not go with the whole origin story. Now everyone knows the origin of, you know, Batman, how it began for him. Just have him turn up. But I don't think the Batman from the Batman movie is going to work in James Gunn's universe. Well, that is why.
Has he not said that he's going to accept
it's going to be a completely new actor, totally different. It's going to be completely separate. And Matt Reeves' version of the Batman is going to be in a similar place to Todd Thingy's Joker film.
Gotcha.
So and what's his name as well? That lunatic is apparently still making the Black Superman movie.
J.J. Abrams. Yeah.
Now, what's the guy? What's the writer's name?
I know exactly who you're on about.
Bile Man. And they're still,
isn't it JJ?
Well, J.J. Abrams was the producer, the guy who worked with him on that. I can't remember the writer's name, but he wrote some. He was on Black Panther, wasn't he? In various Marvel and DC comics. Really nasty, racist man.
Was it?
No, it's not him.
But it's still making
that's happening as well. So lots of these different versions, which is only, as we've said before, John, it's only like having the Elseworlds line of books where there's lots of different versions. And for a start, I mean, there's lots of swearing in this Penguin show. It's absolutely not for kids. This isn't something that you should put your 12-year-old in front of. It's an adult show, and there are stuff that's exclusively for preschool kids that's built around these characters. So I think actually that's absolutely fine. But my broader concern, a general feeling, is actually really closely aligned to what you're saying, Ian. On the strength of this one, I expect to enjoy this. But in a year or two's time, when that next movie comes out, will it make me any keener to see that? Who knows?
Well, I'll leave this on a sour note. This could be, remember, what was it, 3 years ago now? Almost 4? WandaVision. When that came out, we're like, this is awesome. This is
it's a good show, that was. Yeah.
And then we saw how it ended. So that's why I'm not going to say this is brilliant until I see the end, because they could pull a WandaVision on it, and this could just go down the toilet in the final third. But let's hope it doesn't.
It does look like they're going to be doing some sort of creative things, but again, nothing that's going to really break any boundaries. A few flashbacks maybe before the Penguin was quite so grotesque in these pictures that have been released in the last few days.
Oh, is that just a publicity shot then?
Yeah. I don't think, because put it this way, Penguin went really overweight, didn't he?
Well, this intrigues me. This actually
apparently these are published pictures.
Oh, really?
I wanted. Okay, if this is okay, now I'm even more interested because I want to see how that turned into what I just watched on TV. How do you let yourself go? I'm interested. Okay, so far so good.
The thing is, though, what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint the Penguin as a nice guy, even though he kills people. And that's the thing I've noticing now, that what they're doing with villains in movies, they're he's killed people, but you know what? Deep down, he's a nice person. It's like, come on.
I don't think they're necessarily saying that he's a nice person. I think they're trying to make the character kind of relatable. And what would you do? And if not him, then who? I think this lines up with stuff like The Godfather, and even characters like Dirty Harry. He was on the right side of the law. But but
I've got to disagree with you, right? The reason why I say they're trying to make him a nice person, because he takes that guy under his wing and he's trying to teach him stuff or whatever, and that's quite nice, right? The same thing with I can't remember the guy's
that's
name.
The most sinister. That's the most sinister part of it for me.
Yeah, right. But same thing with in The Godfather with Al Pacino's character. He is a nice person, blah, 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 but he kills people and he still helps people. Do you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. But he's still bad. And I just don't understand why there's a focus on villains these days. Do you know what I mean? I just don't. Just give us the heroes. For God's sakes, just give us. We want to see more heroes. We don't want to see villains, and we don't want to know their backstories either, unless it's necessary.
And the shades of grey and all of that.
It's good. I enjoyed it, but I don't see a need for it. And I also hate the photography, and I'm not interested in seeing any more personally for me. But you know, people like it, they like it. You know. But
so what would you score this first episode out of 5 then, Ian?
2 maybe. 2, yeah, a 2. I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Are you gonna watch further episodes, or was it like it's a test?
Well, the thing is, I haven't got HBO Max, whether it is, and you know, if somebody sends it to me, I'll watch, because I haven't. You know, people have been sending me Bad Monkey, and I've been enjoying that. So you know, yeah. I mean, if
you'll make time for it if it comes your way.
Yeah. Again, right? Colin Farrell's performance is absolutely brilliant as this character. Absolutely brilliant. The makeup is fantastic, you know, right up there with any kind of makeup at all. You know, looks nothing like Colin Farrell. Again, I still don't see a point of having this.
It's just not going to be at the top of your viewing part. How about you, John? What would you score this out of the magical 5 stars? And you know, what do you think about Ian's words there? I think I understand it, but I think he's a little harsh. But we've all got to manage our own viewing time, haven't we? It's completely understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it. As I said earlier, though, it's got to stick the landing for me, and that's kind of what Chris said a few minutes ago as well. I think there's so much unknown already because we haven't seen it. So if it carries on as it has, then yeah, I'll be a happy guy afterwards. And if I drill it down to its rawest form, it's nice to be able to talk about a show where I actually enjoyed it, which I haven't done for quite some time.
Would you recommend it? Would you recommend this show to people, for example, who have drifted away from modern TV and films, and also to normies who may be?
Yeah, I was out with my brother today, and my brother's not a comic book fan, but he'll watch we grew up and he'll watch like Superman and the Batman movies. And I said to him, oh, have you watched The Penguin yet? And he goes, no, but we've got Sky Atlantic. And I said, well, check it out. The first episode was good. So he's going to watch it. You know, it's something that's on, which is something that I'll sit down and watch now. Whereas there's a lot of stuff now. I think Ian, you said at the beginning, I can be in the first episode of it and something comes into it like modern day and it takes me straight out of it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to watch it again.
Snap.
This didn't.
Same.
Yeah. No, nothing in this smelled of woke at all. It's pretty solid.
So we've got a 2, we've got a 3. Thank you, John. How about you, Chris? Where would you place this out of 5?
I'm going to give it a provisional rating. Right now, I'm going to put it at 3. If it improves, that rating may go up. If it does not, that rating may go down. Again, I use the example of WandaVision. Initially, when I watched the first episode, I probably would have given it a 3.5. By the time I'd finished that series, I would have given it a 1. Well, no, this could go either way. So I leave it up to Matt Reeves and friends. Impress me.
Yeah. It's a very similar place to where I am at. There's going to be 8, and this is only 1. And if this was, I think we've got to come back to this in a few weeks' time, so to pick up with it then. If this was a one and done, a one-off like a teleplay thing, I'd probably have scored this quite high, because I felt it was incredibly well made, well acted, and engrossing. But in light of the fact, so all the good things about it, as I've said, I have to look at it as a show that at the end of the day isn't particularly, despite its polish and the talent on screen, it's not that original. And therefore, it's strong enough where I'd usually give it a 4, but I'm gonna have to give this a 3, just on its own merits on episode 1, and place the faith, maybe 3.5. Place the faith that it will get somewhere a lot more original and worth my time and my investment, and maybe it'll turn me around on the broader universe as well. I don't know. I'd like to lean it. I'd like it if it lent into the fantastical in some way, so it doesn't drift into being, I could be just watching The Sopranos, so I may as well go and get that.
Can I point out something, right, Dan? You know, in this episode, he kept saying, this town will be mine. But the poster gives it away. The city will be his. So there you go. So you don't need to watch it anymore because it says it on the poster, right? So there you go. There you go.
I have to agree. I mean, it's marketing. Whether it's probably lunacy, but it's definitely marketing after a fashion. We do have an update on the Batman too. So we've got this. Yeah, this is Matt Reeves. Says that the Batman Part 2 will be in cinemas for fall 2026, provisional date of October the 2nd, in fact. He promises that it will take place in the winter, and it will continue after the Penguin TV show. He says the Penguin plays out over the next weeks that take you to the end of a year, and we don't take it into Christmas, but we are getting there. So that's... He's also spoken. Exactly. Bother me again in 2 or 3 years. He's also spoken on who will be the villain for the Batman. So Ryan was saying they're clearly setting up the Penguin to be the big villain of the Batman too. But Matt Reeves is saying he's staying tight-lipped on it. He says, I want the emotional part of the story to be Robert Pattinson's, to be Bruce's and Batman's. I'm excited by the antagonist of the next film, but I don't want Batman's own arc to step back to allow space for another character or group of characters. So that's his way of saying, mind your own business and come to the film when it's done. It's just a nothing statement.
Down with emo Batman.
Yeah, I still stick with that. Stick with what I've said. That movie's not happening, regardless of what he said. You know, that's a director saying, my film is still coming out. Until I hear from James Gunn or Zaslav actually saying it is happening, I will not believe it is happening. Because it's gone on too long. Yeah, and
that writer with the Black Superman movie, his name's Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and I was just going to say quickly as well, I already know who the villain's going to be in the sequel Batman movie if it was to happen. It's the Joker, because he was setting it up in the first one. So yeah,
it's awful. absolutely awful. Well, I got it.
Yeah.
This is a okay. So this will be my brief summary of the situation. So comic book movies are in the toilet, not a clean toilet, a taco night toilet.
Right.
Like the DC is dead. Okay, you're trying to revive it. So what you're saying is, so 2 years from now, you'll be in the middle of your revival, which I am skeptical of. So you're just going to muddy this revival by having, okay, here's a completely unrelated thing that nobody really liked from what at that point will be 4 years ago. So yeah, we got our new Superman movie, we got our new Batman movie, and then the regular audience. Wait, there's another Batman movie, the Batman 2. So is this related to whatever Batman movie we're getting now? No, it's gonna be emo Batman. Nobody wants emo Batman. Flush the toilet, get yourself some Drano, just make it go away, and then we'll be happy. This is a terrible idea. Awful.
It was a success, wasn't it, Dan? The Batman, wasn't it?
So they insist.
Box office wise.
So they insist.
Only because, and I'll say this, if you put a movie out there that says The Batman, people are going to go and watch a Batman movie, even if it's rubbish at the end. They're going to watch it because it's Batman.
It's Batman, yeah.
Watch Batman and Robin. I know I did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the ice skating was brilliant.
I don't know. I think I don't like this version of Batman at all. I was so disappointed with it, and the Penguin TV show. Yeah, I did enjoy it, but I just don't see the point of any of this now. I really don't. What's his name? Gunn is making Superman. Instead of concentrating Superman, they're still trying to rush it. They're still trying to rush this new universe by putting different heroes in this Superman movie. And it's like, why? Just concentrate on one thing. See if that works, and then build upon that.
Stop making it interconnected.
Yeah. What's the point in that? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just said brings back to Superman the movie, which I watched that recently, and I think that's perfect. Yeah, but for the Penguin, I'm okay with this being a one-off. Yeah, I am genuinely interested to see where this goes. I have no interest in the Batman 2. If I watch it, it'll be because I got the 4K for free again. But that's going to be about it.
Yeah. Big Dan. Okay. I don't know, mate. I really don't. Yeah.
No, I largely agree. I've got a lot of hope for what James Gunn's doing with the broader DC projects, and I think Superman next year looks absolutely fantastic with the various characters. It seems to. I don't view it in the same way that you do. I don't think it's too much. I think it's the same way as you were describing about the origin. We don't need to see the Batman origin. We don't need to see the Superman origin. We don't need to see how he first meets the Flash or anything. I think it looks sensational. I've got a lot of hope for the return of Superman to cinemas next year. Really looking forward to it, and there'll be lots of coverage of it here on the channel as well, for better or for worse. And I'm not a big James Gunn. I have not seen anything that I don't love coming off that film so far. There's one thing that's sort of in the margins that hasn't been confirmed yet, and if it is confirmed, the casting of Booster Gold that's rumoured. But other than that, it's not been confirmed yet, so I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram just yet. Everything else that James Gunn has done on that Superman movie is fucking fantastic so far. So Booster Gold, the DC. It'd take another show to explain. Let us know
who that is.
Let us know what you think in the live chat. Let's go and see what's going on over there and see which comments that we've got about this brand new show, The Penguin, because obviously not everybody's seen it yet. It's only just out. It's up to watch on HBO Max or Max and Sky Atlantic here in Britain, and we've got some comments here from people in the live chat too. So let's what have we got? First of all, we have you've saved me several hours, Ian. Cheers. From down so he's not going in for that. He's not taking the bait in any way. Gary Akers, the Retro Doc, is hoping that this could lead to a set of similar shows, maybe a HBO Prestige series about King Tut or Egghead. You never know. Could happen.
Fantastic.
Boomer Dog, he misses real heroes.
Yeah,
Ian,
yes,
I'll
so
let
do
you do.
I just
Real
don't
heroes.
understand. Yeah, I just don't understand why they're not focusing on. They could have made another DC hero with this budget that they made the Penguin with. Do you know what I mean? Someone that's smaller, they could have done that, but I don't know. I don't know
Well,
why.
if you
focus on
remember,
villains.
before they did the change with Zaslav,
Yeah.
there was the commission Green Lantern series that was going to be coming. Now that's gone quiet, so I don't know
Yeah.
whether that's been put on the side.
Oh no, that hasn't gone. There's been more talk about that the last 2 or 3
has
weeks.
it?
They
good.
they
Okay.
offered the role of Hal Jordan to Josh Brolin, who turned it down.
yeah.
They're now going after Matthew McConaughey and the several actors that they're after for that.
Matthew
and
McConaughey.
apparently they've got. Well, he's don't you like Matthew McConaughey? I mean, he's
I
barking
don't think
mad.
he's
but
right.
He's barking mad, but he's a fantastic
Yeah,
actor.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
brilliant as Hal Jordan.
See him as Hal
No,
Jordan.
I
Yeah.
love. Well, yeah, he's like he's almost 60.
Yeah, he's good.
Is he
good
really?
actor.
Yeah,
For me,
well, he's
for me,
he's in his 50s at least. He's too old.
It's all about Guy Gardner for me. They've got to get Guy Gardner right. Do it.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, the guy they've got Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner
Yes.
in
Oh, okay, I
in
didn't know
Superman.
that. Brilliant.
And again, 10, 15 years ago, I'd have thought that was bang on casting. Now I think Nathan Fillion is also too old. But then again, if they're going with the idea that older generation of Lantern heroes, Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan, are maybe middle-aged, then Nathan Fillion matched with somebody like Matthew McConaughey, or like I said, they offered it to Josh Brolin, who I believe is pushing 60. I can see why they would do that.
Or if he's leaning heavily. Sorry, Chris.
54. Oh, no, I was looking. Okay, he's 54. Okay, maybe.
I do like
That's
him as an actor.
Matthew
I
McConaughey.
like him as an actor.
Or if they're leaning into Kingdom Come, potentially, which would really excite me if they are.
But you know what, right? The cartoons, the DC cartoons always get it right. You know, when you watch the cartoons,
That's what you call right.
Well, I
So-
saw one. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the first.
Joe
time
Mad
Batman-
made a series called The Batman like 20 years ago, which I really hated when it started.
Yeah.
But I have to say, after about a season and a half, 2 seasons, I completely changed my mind about it. I thought it was fantastic.
No, I'm talking about the WB cartoons that they have. It's kind of like Justice League, and there was one cartoon I
Love
saw where
those as well.
Batman first met Superman, and you know, and they were basically fighting. I can't remember.
Are you talking about the movie, or are you talking about
cartoon?
Talking about the Batman, you're talking about the Batman Superman movie, aren't you? It's a feature length thing.
No, not that
70
one.
minutes.
No, not that one. There was a cartoon called the Justice League, and there was one called the Dark Justice League with Constantine and all the rest of them. Those cartoons
okay.
really
That's-
good.
yeah, the
They're
free
great,
feature.
yeah.
movies.
The straight to DVD animated films been making for years. Yeah,
I must.
I've got several of them. Michael Q imagines Warwick Davis as the Penguin. I can't really see that. Retro
No.
Gary Akers says this is the Sopranos version of the Penguin. No, that's
feels
I've never
like
seen the
it.
Sopranos, but this is
feels
kind of how I would have imagined it would be.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Retro Doc, because when I watched it on Now TV last night, as it finished, it said other shows you might like.
Yes, and Sopranos, same thing.
Yeah,
The same thing. Yeah. That's crazy, right?
How
Absolutely
strange.
great.
Boomer Dog loved the Batman, but he's never been tempted to revisit it. Don't know why.
I'm hearing this a lot.
Because it's slow and it's boring,
Yeah.
and he doesn't do any detecting. He just mopes around on the crime scene. I'm like, what the hell's this?
I
about?
See,
know.
but,
There's
see,
chemistry
people
between
who
the
like
two
that,
main
people who
characters.
like that film, people who like that film always say to me, "Oh no, but this is the first proper Batman film because he's the world's greatest detective, and you see, and he's a detective in it.
Yeah.
We see him detecting. We don't see him detecting.
detecting,
We
right.
see." All we see him do is take some photographs out of a brown envelope and put them across his floor and stare at them for 20 minutes. That is not detective work, everybody. No.
I've said this before, right? Right? If you ever watch something like The Mentalist or Columbo, there's always a scene in it where they're on site of the murder, and I don't know, Patrick Jane says something that's really clever that nobody notices. Columbo says something that nobody notices. I was expecting that with the Batman, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
No, he does
around.
absolutely
Nothing.
nothing apart from check out Zoe Kravitz's arse in those leather pants, which, to be fair, I would do that too, but I'm not getting paid bloody millions to swagger around as Batman, am I?
Yeah, that's not
What?
There was just no chemistry between those two.
None whatsoever, mate.
Yeah,
No.
that's not good.
No.
See, it all comes flooding back, doesn't it? When you look at some still images from this film, I mean, I am actually going to give it another day in court, based on largely what you've said, Chris, because of the spectacle of it. But again, I'll only have myself to blame if I hate it as much.
It'll look pretty. It's as long as you got a decent TV, it will look very nice, but it will be sleepy time.
I have a decent TV again now. I have a television. Look, I suppose we should get a bit more. We're supposed to be a birthday party. Happy 85th birthday, Batman.
Happy
Birthday, Bruce.
Yeah.
All of this bloody complaining. I'd just like them to get their acts together and pull something memorable to the screen somehow. Cast that bloke out of Reacher as Batman, for fuck's sake. He's clearly the best person for the role. He's keen to do it. He's practically playing it already without the cowl. Batman comics, haven't been so good the last 2 or 3 years. I dipped on a lot of them. I've been told that the main series is starting to get good again, and Detective is pretty good again. So maybe it could be time to look again there. And with Justice League about to relaunch with Mark Waid, I think is writing it, and Dan Moore on art. I'll certainly be looking at the new Justice League Unlimited series too. So let us know what you think about Batman on the screen or in print there in the comments as he reaches his big 85th birthday. Get scrolling, get commenting, and I know where and how. I'm a bit peckish again. I fancy another one of these.
Pick up a penguin, a lovely big penguin. When you pick up a penguin, there's so much more to enjoy. It's bigger, they're chocolatey, delicious, filling too. When you feel a little bit peckish, what's bigger and best for you? A penguin. So pick up a penguin. When you feel a little bit peckish, pick up a penguin.
Ooh,
That commercial is adorable.
It's great. Our thanks again to Ryan Roger Athay of Reality Based for his appearance on this edition of the Spacebook Live. We're going to wrangle him back at some point in the future. We're going to just make sure we check his schedule in that instance so we can have him for the full show. But you can check him out there on YouTube as Reality Based and follow him on X as well. Everybody, another fantastic conversation. Some memorable minutes in front of the screen for a change, watching something that we didn't hate. Could things be turning around? Could things be looking a bit brighter for 2025, Chris?
Probably not.
Probably not. No, probably not. But yeah, we're going to try and keep the faith here at the Spacebook Live. As always, it's at home for any opinion that you may have. So get commenting, and not just on the stuff we've talked about this tonight on this edition of the show, but anything we've mentioned in passing as well. And that does include the Rockford Files. We want to hear about it. Want to hear about it all. We've been streaming this live to YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and on X too. Thank you everybody who's watched and commented along, but it is time to fly off, I'm afraid to say. But don't forget to check out the playlists of earlier shows. So yeah, we're building up a good body of brand new shows here as well. This is show 91, believe it or not. So we did take quite a long break, an unintentionally long break. All the shows are up here on no, they're not. The latest shows are up here on the brand new Spacebook channel. The original series of 87 shows, that's up on the Type 40 channel. I'll bring those videos over here at some point in the future. You can get them in the playlists. So there's the regular live streams on what's going on now in TV, film and comics and everything else, as well as those deep dive reviews of classic movies and TV shows in the Spacebook listed. So please like the video. If you're here, if you've been here this whole time, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get some notifications in your life. Another great show, guys. Thank you so much. How are you going to spend the rest of your weekends, gentlemen? Any projects lined up? You know what it's like, blokes. The weekend we get round to things we've been meaning to for a while, don't we?
Yeah.
Columbo.
I got a vacuum.
Me too.
Oh wait, I know I have to mow the lawn.
Got to do it here.
I'm doing that tomorrow.
I'm actually going to be on John's channel talking about Crusade.
Yep. Like Indiana Jones Last Crusade. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
That's what I've got to do this weekend. So
yeah,
I'll leave the vacuum until later.
I'll step away from Columbo for that, mate.
All right,
I
cool.
promise.
Cool.
And I am going to order Rockford Files. That's happening tonight because your recommendations, guys. It's gonna happen.
I think it's on Amazon, isn't it? Rockford Files on Amazon.
It is on Amazon, yeah.
Is it? Yeah. No, it's not here.
I'm going Blu-ray.
but yeah, I mean, the thing is though, they got live shows going on, haven't they, Dan? If I'm right. So basically, they got the Bionic Woman playing, but when you click on it, it's halfway through an episode.
Oh yes,
yeah, we have that here.
Yeah,
we have that. Yeah. We have our own Pluto TV. I leave it on. No, actually, Pluto TV is great. I leave it on for Sky when I'm out, and she watches home improvement shows.
Right. Yeah.
I've got a lot I've been meaning to get round to this weekend. So my new television is here, and now I get to play with it. I get to play with it at last year.
Size.
You didn't ask what kind of TV is it?
Yeah, and what size?
Yeah.
It is. I went for the 55-inch in the end.
That's okay. I have two of my 3 TVs are 55. One is 50. Is it OLED, LED?
It is indeed. So that was the thing. I was torn between the 65 and the 55. And I mean, firstly, as I think I said this on the Type 40 channel, the temptation is, because these things are, I wouldn't say they're cheap, but they're inexpensive, you know, particularly if you watch a lot of TV and movies. And so there is that temptation to buy the biggest bastard you can get through your front door and then hope for the best. So I nearly went for the 65, and then I thought, hang on, what am I doing? You know, because I've got how my sort of lounge area is set out. I thought I don't sit that far away from where the TV is. I only need a 55-inch. So I thought, well, if I'm going to have the smaller one, I may as well spend the extra to get the more future-proof technology of the OLED. Yep. So that's what I've gone.
What brand? Sony?
It's a Samsung. I was gonna go with Panasonic, which I've always bought Panasonic before. But everywhere I went, everything I saw suggested that Samsung was the way to go. So I bought my very first Samsung screen, and it's all plugged in. Good. I haven't had time to calibrate it yet, though. So I'll give it a good test.
You must send us a picture.
I shall.
We need to see your TV.
And
I shall.
Chris, can I just ask, when you mentioned that you've got your 3 screens that are certain sizes, they are in separate rooms, aren't they?
Yeah. No, okay. So I got my 2-story house, and it's just me and my dog. So my 3 TVs in my main room. I've got a 55-inch Sony, just regular LED X800E, which was in the middle of their line when I bought that back in 2018.
This is around the middle of the line of the stuff I was looking at as well.
But at some point, that one I'm going to upgrade to probably 55-inch OLED. In my bedroom, I have my second. It's just a Toshiba 55-inch. I bought it at Best Buy last year. And then in my kitchen, I have a 50-inch TLC, which I got on Amazon Prime Day for $329. It's a 50-inch. It's not bad. So it's I just
brilliant.
So when I'm not at home, Sky, she's still she's a lab, so she's still a baby. So she's still in her crate during the day, but I have her crate right in front of the TCL, so I just leave that streaming on Pluto TV while she's out. So at some point, but Dan, I agree with you. Smaller is better. It's like my brother wants to get the 75-inch Philips garbage brand TV. I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to look like absolute trash. So it's like
I worked out as well, Chris, that if I put the 65 plus inch in my living room, it would actually block out most of the natural sunlight that comes in there. So
my living, like my house is almost a century old, so it's like one of your houses. It's very small. We lounge area, well, as the living room as we call it over here. It's really small, and anything larger than 55 inches would completely overwhelm it. But what's eventually going to happen when I do get my OLED, the TCL that's in the kitchen is going to move into my office and become a big 50-inch computer monitor. The 55-inch that's currently in the living room will end up going to the kitchen, and then the new one will go in the living room. But yes, I like my TVs. And this is the great thing about being single. I could do this stuff and nobody knows that.
My brother, he lives in Ireland, and he lives out on a farm somewhere, and he's got an actual cinema in his house.
That's my plan eventually.
He's literally got a cinema. He's got like seats, red seats. He's got popcorn thing at the side. He's got posters on the wall. He's got a huge screen.
Oh, no, I'm doing that eventually.
Projection. Yeah, he has this projection that projects, and he just sits in there, watches films.
No, I know, actually,
what he does,
that's my plan. Eventually, I want to build an extension onto the back of my house, and that's going to be like my massive screen TV room. Yeah. That's like retirement years, but fun. I love those theaters. You need to send me pictures of that too.
Yeah, I will. He sent me pictures. I just couldn't.
I think that either the next show or the one after should be our big physical media catch up, and we'll get Retro Doc in, and we've got a couple of other people who are really into the physical media in.
Yeah. Well, as spoilers, I'm not happy with Arrow Video and Shout Factory at the moment. So you get ready for another rant.
Fantastic stuff. This is why we love you so much, Chris. Where would we be without a Balls Trek rant about something here or there? You got to chuck a dog a bone every now and again, haven't you? But thank you for your company. People can still find you on X now and again, can't they? They've not run you out of town just yet.
Oh no, it's I've got my two Twitter accounts. So I got the Dumpster Fire, which is at Balls Trek. And I've got my Civilized account, which is Cultivated Media, where I talk about horror. Still have the YouTube channel. That's one of these days coming up, maybe in the next few months. I'll be in a really bad mood and will want to make a video. So at some point, I'll yell at something.
You're not going to want to miss that, everybody, are you? Let's be honest.
It would be Chris if he didn't yell at something. Let's face it.
Yeah.
But I didn't always yell. Look at I used to be happy. I was watching. Honestly, I never watched my old videos, but I clicked on something from like 2009 to see what did I make. I'm actually happy. What happened? I guess I got old.
Doctor Who happened. That's
actually, what happened. No, that is literally what happened.
Don't get old, John. Don't get old, mate. People can find you on social media, can't they?
Yeah. At Gallifrey 11 on X. So come and say hello, and the
YouTube channel.
Great. And the YouTube channel is Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. And as Ian said, tomorrow we're recording an upcoming Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and we've done the first two, and they've been absolute fun, haven't they, Ian? So we'll keep doing it because we love to talk about movies.
We love it.
Like you, Dan.
Keep plugging away.
Oh. Yeah, love it.
No stopping me. Yeah, I'm planning the next show already. More Type 40, of course, in the week too. More Doctor Who stuff. Thank you for all the support over there, everybody. Particularly that show a couple of nights ago. It's done really, really well. Ian couldn't make it because he's not. Of course, it was very much up to date stuff, wasn't it? So he's all out of that sort of thing, but happily he's still with us here at the Spacebook Live talking about everything else.
Yeah.
And so people can follow you, can't they, to keep not just tabs on Rebecca Gold 2, which is obviously getting closer and closer and closer. But on your viewing and listening habits too. You've recently rediscovered all your old vinyl, haven't you, and CDs and things like that.
I'm so in love with my vinyls. Just seriously, I took it out. And I don't want to put them back where I found them, and they're in my bedroom now, just sitting there. I just stare at them.
With this one girl I was seeing. That was.
I literally just stare at them, and the memories come flooding back. Where you're just lying on your bed, you've got the big headphones on with the big curly lead that's connected to the turntable, and you're just sitting in bliss listening to the movie soundtrack. it all came flooding back, mate. So yeah.
Looking forward to talking some more about that as well, because I have a turntable story as well.
Oh, you do?
I bought a second turntable. More on that another time. I think you can find me on X too, where I'm wheezing and groaning, ranting and raving about all things geeky inside and outside of the TARDIS in TV, comic books and movies, and general sort of retro nostalgia stuff. Now and again you get a dash of politics. I'm only human. Oh, is he watching? Is Starmer? Is he listening, John? Okay. Oh God, they're here. Get the Vader treatment, won't I? Yes. So come and find me on X for more of that, more of my scandalous thoughts about all of the above. Thank you so much for your support again here at the Spacebook Live. We'll be back with more again soon, and another guest for more out there entertainment. Who knows where we're going, what's going to premiere between now and then. Maybe it'll be a deep dive into the past. There's only one way to find out, to make sure you don't miss it, is to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
Cheers.